I'm Richard.
I'm Doug.
And I'm Jason.
And we're the Card Game Guys, the internet's premier source for DC deck building game content. What you are watching now is our second in our series, Teen Titans vs. the Legion of Superheroes. This time around, instead of playing as the Teen Titans superheroes, we are playing as the Legion of Superheroes. Specifically, Chameleon Boy, Saturn Girl, and Cosmic Boy.
More time-traveling goodness.
And speaking of time travel, it's worth mentioning that this was recorded the same day as our first video in this series, so we had not yet learned that when you are controlling somebody else's hand with telepathy, you can't discard those cards to time travel. So be watching for all of us cheating like crazy for that.
We're all a bunch of cheaters.
Mostly Doug, but yes. Now you see right there, one of the big strengths of the time travel mechanic is that you can actually get a 6-power card on the first turn, which can be a big swing, especially with something as strong as, T-Wing that we just saw. Right,
knowing that you want those 1 and 2 cost cards quite that early is a good strategy as far as, I know what I'm buying from now on. Like that, say that Birderang that's sitting out there. Starman being abused by everybody, including me here.
Yeah, well, it's pretty strong, especially once there's already a bunch of the same cost in the lineup. A couple of 6s were in there, and you're able to leverage it to get Dick Grayson, which is another strong early turn pickup.
Yeah, very T-Wing-esque, but different. Missing how she got to 5 there.
She time traveled Starman.
Oh, okay. I was thinking he was still up from when I did it, but
nope. Azeroth, Mentria, Zinthos seems like it would be a stronger card than it is, but for some reason people just never seem to want to really take advantage of it and use it.
Well, anything that allows you to manipulate your discard pile is a very strong effect in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the things that transfers from strategy game to strategy game is anything that lets you draw cards, anything that lets you manipulate your discard pile, or anything that lets you manipulate what resources you have coming.
Or counts things in your discard pile, like Starbolt.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, the Starbolts, anything that lets you pull out of your discard pile, like the Bat Signal. For example, or Man of Steel, if we're staying in the superpower vein. Where
I've been the victim of that combo.
Yeah.
All the kicks come back.
Well, one of the things, too, is that the designers recognize that early on, and you'll see that some cards like that are really badly overcosted. The archetypal example being Zatanna Zatar from the core set. Because she lets you set up cards where the cards are in your deck. She costs way more than she should for her, +1 power ability.
Right.
But she has just about the weakest, setup ability that you could make. Because it's 2 cards to the bottom. And it just ends up usually not being worth worrying about.
Do you think they'll ever get to the point where they start making cards that let you actively go into your deck and look for a card, like a tutor effect in Magic?
No, it slows the game down. The only thing right now that slows the game down in anything even remotely like that is shuffling your deck. Which most of the time you're not going to be doing in the middle of your turn, but sometimes it's going to happen.
It happens.
I agree. That's one line this game shouldn't cross. I think that's something that really sets it apart from other games. You can really manipulate the heck out of your discard pile, but the library is just like that last, or the deck is that last line that you can't go into.
Well, there's still plenty of deck manipulation. There's a whole bunch of stuff that lets you put things on top of your deck.
Top and bottom, yeah.
And bottom of your deck, yeah. And so I think that concept is already worked into the game. It's just, it's not taking that extra step of, let me go find that thing I want. Because that dives you into a whole new world of craziness, especially with a whole... I mean, it'd be too hard to balance, I think. just
Yeah,
with-
I think it would throw the power curve right out the window.
Shimmer here is one of those brutal attacks that is, not really all that bad, but over time it can really just kind of add up and you've just got all the weaknesses showing up.
Yeah, you just start dogpiling your opponent with all those weaknesses, and they don't get to chuck, stuff for their starters.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you have someone playing Green Arrow or anyone else who uses punches, you're getting rid of those.
Yeah. And in Teen Titans, there aren't a lot of destroy effects. There's basically just detonator. And so there's not a lot of ways to really deal with that.
There's no time travel destroy effects either. I can't recall any of them.
None are coming to mind, yeah.
That'd be an interesting thing for a future time travel thing, if they did one, is to add that. No more Shimmer abuse.
That one-turn Slade Wilson.
Yep.
Slade is such a good card.
Yeah, and we're playing the Teen Titans set, so normally we would have him on top, but you'll see Saturn Queen is there because we're using the Legion of Superheroes supervillains. And she's also really strong, but in a very different way.
I think it's almost a little disappointing that that top villain for this doesn't have that time travel effect. Because I think it'd be interesting.
It would be interesting, but I think it actually helps a lot that it doesn't. I think it would just kind of bog the game down early on, especially if, like the other supervillains, there was an attack on her. It would make it so hard to get to that 8 to try to get out of there. I'm sure that was something that was part of it in playtesting, and they immediately realized that was bad.
Well, even if it's not an attack, even if it was, time travel +1 power, because with the way we do things, we have 2 of the crossover packs in this the shared deck. Not everyone's going to be doing that because not everyone's going to want to buy 2 of the crossover pack. And I don't know, I think it would have introduced here's the mechanic a little bit better, even if it didn't come up in your lineup right away, like we do have it.
Reach Scarab is good.
Yeah, I think is there a better defense in Teen Titans than that one?
Mammoth.
Teen Titans has Mammoth, so that's obviously a high bar to deal with.
True. But I mean, you're still getting 2 cards for Scarab, just like you are Mammoth. And you get an ongoing card on your discard pile, which is as good as destroying a starter, I think. So.
Yeah, so those 2 are kind of the big ones for that. I think they're probably fairly comparable.
But there's no power armor or Blue Beetle.
No, there's no ongoing defense where it just kind of hovers there because in your hand. Not in the Teen Titans, but there is in crossover 3 that we're also playing with here. There is Mon-El, which you may have noticed on the last time around that Doug actually discarded it instead of just revealing it from his hand because he has difficulty with reading comprehension.
Apparently. And I think I just play him that way throughout the entire game. Where
you would be correct, sir.
Which is
you don't need those 2
disappointing.
power every turn.
Nope. Or that gaining of a time travel card on every single attack.
Yeah, that would be wasteful.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not too close of a game so you don't feel bad about missing those.
True.
And that kind of hurts leaving 2 power on the table. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, those turns always suck.
And it looks like you had the option to not, because you do have Bumblebee out there. You could have bought that kick.
Oh, I could have. That would have been a smart move. Hopefully I don't lose by 1 victory point.
That would be embarrassing. Oh, here we go.
Cheetah.
It's the first cheat.
And it's the one we warned you about, so you knew it was coming. And there it is again. Twice in 1 turn. Just your cheating no limits.
Obviously not. You gotta go big or go home. Double cheat for a grand total of 4 power.
Remember what Eddie Guerrero always used to say? Cheat to win. So what do you guys think about the Teen Titans set?
I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it. I definitely like the other spin-off games better. Forever Evil, for example. Though I have said that Forever Evil is my favorite version. Just because I think that the Teen Titans gimmick with the ongoing cards and just the way things are set up is not as... Oh, there you go. You see me discarding Monel again. But it's not as... I don't know, conductive to gameplay. It seems slower with because you have more choices to make and things of that nature than some of the crossovers. And yeah, that's kind of my opinion on Teen Titans.
Yeah, I think it's the pace of the set is a lot slower than the first two sets. The power generation seems to be a lot less in Teen Titans. They've scaled it back, and they've definitely done a lot with the ongoing effect and the interactions between the cards, and they're kind of hanging their hat on that, which makes sense. It's not a bad set, I don't think, and I think they definitely achieved what they were shooting for as far as the theme goes. But the game feels different when you play with a lot of Teen Titans cards. It slows it down, and it just misses that sweet spot I think that the first two core sets have.
Well, I think it's because you have to build up to those big turns, and
yeah, the game lasts
now
long.
I'm cheating too.
Yep, there it
Cheat.
is. I mean, you have to build your ongoing cards over the course of 3 turns, or use them like as you get them to give you those short little boosts, like we talked about with that Bumblebee for Richard's turn a couple turns ago, where he could have got a kick too. Or you let it build, and you fire them all off in one go, or you get Teen Titans Go, or something like that lets you explode that way. But there's no super strength or ultra strength or starbolt. Well, I mean, there's Coco Raven, but it works a little bit differently. It's not going to get as big as a starbolt generally.
Yeah, but you do have a full
one.
cycle of them, which makes a big difference.
True.
For each card type.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's one
Yeah.
for each card type.
So, I mean, it definitely has its high
That's
points.
a good point. That's a good point, Richard, where each of those card types has that Starbolt type power. And now that I think about it, it's like it was designed to kind of help you get over that hump a little bit. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
Doug.
no, and it also interacts with the Teen Titans superheroes as well. Like, you'll see a lot of them triggering off of 2 different types, and there will be interactions with those between the different card types. Like, if you're talking specifically about Raven, she triggers off of superpowers and villains.
Oddly, the cloak is an equipment, but yeah. And we were talking a little bit about earlier the supervillain attacks. We don't see too many of that so far.
Because we're all very overconfident and we all think we're going to take the supervillain every turn.
Oh, true.
I think that's a big part of it, is that we don't... By the time we realize that we're not going to beat the supervillain, we've already done all of our time traveling. At least that would be my explanation.
I think that, unless I'm missing something, that kind of speaks to the power curve of the Teen Titans set, where like you're so used to playing with those big, heavy-hitting sledgehammer type cards where you come into your hand like, all right, I'm going to get this supervillain, and then you come up some power short, from your ongoing effects.
Although, for the record, Sledgehammer does not give any power whatsoever.
True.
But yeah, in terms of the Teen Titans set as a whole, I think it's actually a well-designed set, except for, I would say, 2 cards. And the reason I would say those 2 cards is because they really punish you for doing what everything else in the set is trying to get you to do, which is trying to work with ongoing cards.
Which 2 cards would those be?
I'm getting to that,
Okay.
Douglas. And those 2 cards I was going to mention are Jinx and Match. What Jinx does is it's a targeted attack on one opponent. I forget if it's that or if it's each opponent discards an ongoing card they control. In any event, it discards ongoing cards from play, which can be very one-sided depending on if you're the person who's, doing what the game is trying to get you to do and you've got all the ongoing cards. It's going to hurt you. And then the even worse one is Match, which is an attack where somebody gets to take over all of your ongoing cards for 1 turn. And since most of those ongoing cards in the Teen Titans set have an effect when you discard them, you're going to lose a lot of them. They're going to all get discarded for their effects by whoever takes them over, and you're not going to get them back. Which can be a really brutal attack that can really mess up a good, stable setup that you've got, especially if you're dealing with things like you've got the Colony, which lets you do a lot of tricks to kind of keep your ongoing cards in play but still get the benefits of discarding them to other cards. And really, it really just detracts from the theme of trying to, build up this established foundation from which to work.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because with those ongoing effects, you're really working up to like a key turn where you start unloading that stuff. And if someone drops that on you before you've reached that point or you're about to reach that point, it sets you back several turns.
Possibly going through your whole deck again to get
Right.
all of your stuff that you're going to combo off of.
And there's no card that's remotely like that in any of the other sets. There's nothing that's going to set you back 3-4 turns of setup.
Yeah, there's nothing in Forever Evil, for example, that punishes you for destroying cards.
Yeah, I mean, even Killer Frost. We've moved to not playing with Killer Frost generally because of the idea that the whole point of having locations is that they're going to stay in play. And then just having things that go against that really ruins the
feel.
Yes, it really just it feels very... It creates a feel-bad experience. It really just destroys things that you've clearly put some effort into. Things that you play that you expect to stick around and suddenly aren't.
And ultimately, the point, as much as we talk about strategy and things like that, is to have fun. And harshing that fun is not a great experience.
Yes.
So what do you think about then, like Power of the Green? Do you play with that as well, or do you have increased copies of that card to kind of balance that out?
We don't run more of them, but Power of the Green is a good card even if you're not losing your locations, because what it does is it lets you accelerate getting them out.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right, but it can also counter, what's her name, Lady Frost or whatever. Killer Frost.
You say that, but I've played with both of them in the same deck, and the timing is very rarely going to work out to your benefit for that. Because what's going to happen is you're going to draw Power of the Green with your last partial hand as you shuffle the rest of your discard pile in, and suddenly you can't do it.
Well, the option's there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, that's 3 super villains down already.
Wow, I burnt that 4 power. I didn't even buy a kick.
Yeah, I'm assuming you lost count of exactly how much you had. And
know your power count, people. Know your power count.
And when in doubt, ask somebody to count along with you.
Hopefully you're playing with people who, will accurately count with you.
That would definitely be a good thing. Play with friends, not enemies.
Is Bumblebee 1 or 2 power?
I think it's 1.
1 when you discard it. It's 2 to buy her.
I think he was asking the
power
benefit.
Yeah, for 2 you need Lady Vic, which is red underneath her.
She costs 3? 4.
4. 4. Lady Vic costs 4. Yep.
Clearly, they value the ongoing effect as another point above kick.
Yes.
Yeah. Which kind of makes sense, because you get that 2 power when you want it.
Yeah, I suppose that's like having a 6th card on the next turn or whatever.
Yeah.
This is a card I actually really like, this Silent Armor. The ability to basically, you get a card and then you get to gain the top card of the main deck and put it into your hand too.
Which one did you discard there? I missed what that was.
I discarded the location that I had just put out.
Oh, okay.
I forget which one it was.
Because I mean, what you could do is effectively turn Bumblebee into a super cheap Shazam.
Yes.
With that, and 1 power, I gain the top card. So, speaking of recounting power, you get a good example of it right here. Where
I don't know what you're talking about. Just because I'm counting those cards as though I own them when I clearly don't.
Yep. I didn't even see Mammoth hit the lineup. Might be
it wasn't there very long, yeah.
Or did you get that one for free? Oh.
So you see, cheat, that's because 2 of the cards that I played out of Heidi's hand, I counted as though I owned them, but I did not, so I didn't get the 3 power for you guys not discarding.
Ah. I see.
So I thought I had 6 more power than I did. And that's my cheat there.
So you shouldn't have been able to buy that supervillain.
No, I should have been able to buy the supervillain. I shouldn't have been able to buy inertia on top of it.
Okay. Because a supervillain, something that can definitely throw the
Yes.
count out of whack.
But now, when we get to the final, I'll just have to subtract two victory points informally off. So it's worth talking about the mechanic of these different attacks, like the supervillains and Universo, where it's just a basic, your opponent discards a specific type of card, but then if somebody doesn't, you get 3 power out of it. And that's one of the... That makes for an interesting combination with the Teen Titans, where there's not a lot of ways to get 3 power.
True.
But with this crossover, we've got all the supervillains give you away, and, Universo. So there's definitely some potential there for kind of spiking your power a little bit more.
So, is it first card you play for Cosmic Boy, or is it play from hand?
First card you play from your hand. It's right there on the screen.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah, she was able to time travel geokinesis. Which
after telepathy, yep.
Yeah. Nice combination there.
Nice little benefit of the time traveling stuff, too. They can still trigger your heroes.
Yeah, weird. It's like they thought of that.
I know, right?
Ooh, I'm gambling on Heidi having something good. Let's see.
Reach scare?
Nice defensive hand, though.
Yeah, it doesn't do me a lot of good.
Mr. Ray is there. All sorts of options.
Yep, nothing defends against telepathy, though.
True. It just happens.
So after seeing what Heidi had in her hand, Doug decided that wasn't good enough and had to gamble on my hand. Let's see if it pays off. Well, Jericho's not going to do him a whole lot of good.
Nope.
Oh, and he's cheating.
Same cheat over and over again.
Wow, and he cheated to get rid of one of my own equipment, or one of my own ongoing cards, too. That's just dirty. Yeah, he'd have had more power if he'd have gone with Heidi's hand.
Probably, yep. I don't remember what you had, so.
I got 7 out of her.
Ah.
Ooh, here's more geokinesis tricks. See, there's 7, just like I told you.
What you gonna time travel? If anything. That's only 4. See, that might have been a good opportunity to use the villain. And we just don't seem to.
Yeah, we don't. Well, you don't get you don't get any power off of the villain is the thing.
Unless your opponent's...
Unless you own it. If you time travel it, you don't get any power out of it. Whereas you get 2 from geokinesis. See, that's the trade-off, is really the supervillain is only the right choice when you've already time traveled everything out of the lineup that you can. Or I suppose if the extra power from the lineup, or from the time travel card, isn't going to make the difference. For the turn. So there's a nice trick. I used Computo to turn my punch into a 5-cost card so I could use my Chameleon Boy ability to play the 5-cost time travel, the 5-cost geokinesis from the line, and get rid of Doug's colony.
It's a nice little cycle.
Yeah, Computo is kind of a wonky card. Sometimes it works against you because it makes everything in the lineup cost 5. But sometimes it just gives you a neat little trick that you can pull.
But it also lets you buy things like, Teen Titans Go for 5.
Or match, there's options there.
So if there is juicy stuff, it is worthwhile.
Yep, there are definitely things that you can do with it.
Well, that's interesting too, because it says cards you own. So that could check your discard pile for, those effects that say grab a card with cost 5 or less from your discard.
So like Aqualad.
Mm-hmm.
You could get a much juicier target with that.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's one good defense against Shimmer, is just not having starters.
True.
Yeah, somebody didn't want to have to keep dealing with geokinesis all the time. I can't say that I blame her much.
Yeah, that's one of those cards that can really be hateful.
Oh,
yeah.
Richard's computing again.
Ooh, I can get Teen Titans Go for it. That's a nice trick. Especially given that I have a lot of ongoing cards in my discard pile.
Yeah, you've got a few. What is that, 5, 6?
6, it looks like. Yeah.
Oh, that's potent in this set.
Yeah. Teen Titans Go is a ridiculously powerful card. Given how, like we've talked about, the pace of Teen Titans set tends to be a little bit slower.
Well, and it bridges the card type gap, too. It's all ongoing villain, hero, equipment.
Right. Well, and if you have it in your main deck, it gets a little ridiculous, too. Because, you can just blow all your ongoing, play it, put them back out there, blow all your ongoing for just a massive turn.
Right.
And even, the Lady Vic Bumblebee turns into 6 power when you do that. Which are, about power for random ongoing cards. And then you still have the other 4 cards in your hand.
I wonder what I'm pondering wondering if I want to go all out to try to get the supervillain now that I can buy it for 4
I was
less.
going to say, despite the Teen Titans Go, you are at 6 power now after you threw that, but...
Yeah, but that's not counting any
You're
of these other
3
things
from
that
here,
I can do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like you decided you couldn't quite get there.
And there's Match.
And
Yeah,
the
but
one...
I did get Match for dirt cheap because it was reduced to 5 by Computo, and I pay 4 less because of Daughter of Trigon. So, but I'm paying enough attention. Since I don't need it for anything, I can time travel Lightning Lord and make everybody discard a hero.
Which is super annoying for me.
Yeah, you had done some work to get Starman, and it didn't work out for you.
Well, just the fact that it's a hero that I'm discarding.
Right. So you had no good choices of what to discard, because your heroes are all good, apparently.
Well, I was saying for triggering Saturn Girl.
Well, yes, that too.
That's what I was driving to.
Sure.
Not the
And
fact
of course,
that
you,
I have a
you
bunch
would
of good heroes.
draw a hero off of the first card you
Absorption.
play, but then it's too late.
Right.
Stuck buying kicks because everything in the lineup is 5.
No, I was buying the kicks so I could counter him. So that, pay 1 for 1 VP kind of deal.
Yeah, Teen Titans Go for 5. That's a pretty good deal.
Yep. The other neat thing about Computer, just time travel and make everything cheaper
Yep.
that you want.
Well, you didn't even time travel, and that was the one that was in your deck.
Well, there you go. I
Well,
missed
look,
that I had bought one.
Geokinesis is back in the lineup. I wonder what's going to happen with that.
But it gets played over and over again.
Well, Heidi's going to play it the old-fashioned way, it looks like.
That could get really annoying for you. I mean,
What,
Just
constant geokinesis?
yes,
Yes. No, when you are the one guy with the...
the ongoing stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess geokinesis fits into the paradigm of the cards that I mentioned earlier with Match and Jinx. That there's
Right, but that makes sense with the sheer amount of ongoing cards, losing one every so often. I mean, in this format where you can play one every turn with time travel.
right. If you've
That's a
got the
little
right
different.
shenanigans, yeah.
Right. But throwing one every so often isn't such a big deal when you can just toss Bumblebee to it. Oh, lineup reset.
Yeah, Time Sphere is interesting that way.
There's another one.
Yep.
What is it? Sonic Siren in the base set? That lets you blow up 1. I think that's a little undervalued.
Sonic Siren is in Heroes Unite.
Oh, okay. But where you can reset 1, I think that gets undervalued by us a little bit. And maybe it's because we have kind of cherry-picked what we put in our deck.
No, I don't think that's a factor. I think it's the same overconfidence they mentioned in terms of not trying to time travel the supervillains in Legion of Superheroes. We think we're going to buy everything in the lineup, so we don't want to destroy any of the good cards.
Right.
So we only use it when there's cards that we are not interested in.
And because we've cherry-picked our lineup, there's not too many cards we're not interested in. There's not magic flying around or things of that nature.
Cards that are unplayably bad if you're not doing Crisis are not in there, so we're not going to run into it as much. You're right. Yeah, I don't know. Time traveling the Hive Agent, which gave you enough power to buy the Hive Agent, but only the Hive Agent didn't really pan out for you.
Yeah.
But you couldn't buy the Hive Agent anymore because you've time traveled it.
Net 0, anyway.
That's a good effect to time travel, but not actually buy the card.
Energy absorption?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be really strong, especially when you know you've only got one weakness in your deck and it's already in your hand.
I look at a card effect like that and it's like, man, I don't want to spend my turn buying that. But then that kind of plays into the theme of Teen Titans being a lower power curve set.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of funny because I actually really like energy absorption. But I also value card destruction very highly.
Oh, card destruction is really good.
Especially optional card destruction, as opposed to like Mongol.
Right. That is the one like rough thing about some of those where you must destroy things, which is why like the red ring is the worst ring.
Yes.
Out of the
there definitely comes a point too where you get to a certain point where you've got the power that you need in your deck and you can start adding those utility effects on the side. But like I guess the point of view that I'm coming from in this instance is like early game. That's not something that I would focus on getting before something that could generate me some power.
Sure.
And I think that's a playstyle difference between you and Richard, where Richard goes for the destruction effects immediately. It seems like.
Oh, yeah. I mean, destruction is another bird entirely. I agree that the destroy effect part of that can be pretty good, but I don't know, like early on, I really feel like those Gorilla Grodd and Brother Bloods and Power Girls are pretty much what you should be going to if you can generate the power to buy those cards.
Yeah, a 4 power card is ridiculously strong, but you're also not getting those 4 power cards for 4 cost. Anything you're buying for 4 cost, you're only getting 2 power out of anyway. Whereas the 1 victory point that you can gain if you just use it to destroy weakness is every bit as good as 2 power most of the time, and you're getting a draw card on top of it.
Right. I mean, if you've gotten to the point in the game where weaknesses are going around, or maybe there's an early Poison Ivy or Scarecrow or something, that could definitely be worthwhile to start blowing those up.
Yeah, just like we've seen Geokinesis bouncing around now, I suspect we'll see Bunker getting played over and over again. Because that is a really strong thing to get out of a vulnerability, is possibly drawing 3 cards like Heidi just did. And now everybody's favorite seemingly complicated attack, Phobia. But I suspect we're probably just going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to discard it in my own discard pile.
Yeah, because even when you got time travel flying around, bad cards aren't necessarily bad.
Yeah, unless you've got a weakness to give to somebody else, there's not much reason to discard your starters into somebody else's discard pile in this format.
Because you'll just start discarding stuff that matters.
Yep. Speaking of the importance of time travel, it appears Heidi missed the fact that cybernetic enhancement was doing nothing for her, so she should have just discarded it for the 2 power, especially since that'll
get her to 13 for the villain, yep.
That's a big turn. So let this be a reminder to you, play with your friends, so that they'll help you when you make silly mistakes like playing a 0 power card.
When you can do something.
When you could time travel it, yes.
Because there are benefits to just playing a card sometimes.
Sometimes. There weren't right there.
No, there wasn't there, but... Looks like you're pondering something here.
Yeah, I'm clearly massively overthinking something. Because, yeah, just getting to 6 and T-winging. And... Oh, there we go. Time Trapper.
So speaking of... I think Heidi should have picked up that T-wing, personally.
Well, definitely. She's already collecting the cheap cards, and...
I mean, T-wing plus the Birdering that's there, and then something else, which she'd have had power for.
Yeah.
I mean, she probably would have been ahead on the victory point count, and...
Yeah, that's always one of the tough decisions is, bonus victory point cards versus supervillains. I mean, the T-Wing's only plus 2 power, and the supervillain could get her 3, so...
I think the keyword there is can.
Yes.
Where T-Wing is going to get her 2, and, yeah.
With a Lightning Lord, it's not very likely she's going to catch Doug without a hero, so it just kind of comes down to whether I'm going to have one or not.
Well, there's the effect of having 2 T-Wings in your deck so that it moves you from, wanting to destroy all the weaknesses to wanting to have at least 1 weakness in your deck. Because you go from the...
I believe you meant to say exactly 1 weakness.
Yes, exactly, 1 weakness. Because you go from that net -1 to the net +1. Or net 0 with the 1 T-Wing.
Yes, but 2 T-Wings really does change the game in that sense. Because suddenly the fact that you still have a vulnerability is gaining you 2 victory points. The fact that you still have a punch is gaining you 2 victory points.
Yep.
That snowball effect is really strong.
Oh, second Monel. That I'm sure I'll keep playing incorrectly over and over again.
It's okay. It's not like we've ever seen a reveal defense before.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a completely new mechanic.
Yes. Would have been a good one for them to put on like Blue Beetle in the first set or something. Or
Yeah, I know.
maybe represent with Lex Luthor's power armor and Forever Evil. Those would have been good ideas.
Something to give a supervillain an effect on.
Yeah. Which supervillain would that fit, though? Somebody who's capable of outwitting you, but still, outfighting you, too.
Batman.
Yes, Batman, the supervillain.
Oh, I know. Teen Titans villain, the Brain and his monkey companion, Monsieur Mallah.
Yes.
That would be a good supervillain to put that on. Each foe discards a villain becomes Doug discards a supervillain.
Yeah.
That's kind of harsh.
Always a little rough.
Yeah.
But at least it's not destroyed. Because that's what makes you cry.
Scoop up that mammoth. Makes you wonder what they're thinking when they design a card like Mammoth and then slap 5 cost on him.
Yeah, especially seeing as it's almost exactly as powerful as a card in the same set that costs 7.
Right.
Although the 7 cost card is +1 power relative to Mammoth, but still.
Yeah, his defense, or the Scarab's defense is only marginally better.
Yeah.
And is less good outside of Teen Titans. Because there's not too many ongoing effects outside of Teen Titans.
Oh man, I have to pick between 2 superpowers? Lame.
One of them's a kick, though, so...
Yeah, it does make it a little easier. Especially since I've got, New Titans Tower to draw a card off of. Playing Molecular Vibration and Solstice to draw another card for having the Molecular Vibration.
Right.
It's a no-brainer. Kick or draw 2 cards, possibly 3.
3 if you want.
Yes.
Yeah. Not even possibly 3. Do you want another card? Because you can't have another card.
Reset the lineup again. Why not?
Yep. I mean, that's the benefit of those cards, is you just get to... I don't like this. Let's see what else I get.
It's not even I don't like this. It's like, I think I could do better. And there I see a Jinx that I don't want anybody else to have, so I should probably go ahead and buy it. Plus, hey, Dawnstar 2. Why not?
That is a neat little effect, Dawnstar.
Yeah, no, it's usually a reliable 3 power in a 3-player game. More and with more players.
Yeah, it's one of those effects like Starro that just get better and better the more players you have.
Speaking of, let's see it in action, see what happens. Oh, well, I suppose if I've got a weakness, you don't get 3 power, Doug. Only 2 for you.
It happens. I think that's one thing that does get missed by people sometimes, is weakness isn't a card type.
Yes, which is relevant with all of the bunker time traveling we're doing.
Yeah, I think that catches new players off guard quite a bit.
Though it is still green, so if you're playing, what is that, Crisis 2?
Yes, Crisis 2 uses a lot of color-based things.
It's green, just doesn't have a type.
Which especially matters for like White Lantern Deadman or Kyle Rayner.
Or the 8-cost one that lets you grab colors out of your discard pile. If you want a weakness in your hand for some reason, you can have it.
Yes. Yeah, computer is always an interesting choice when you've got him in your hand. Because a lot of times, he might hurt you by making cards in the lineup more expensive.
Right. Like, in this case, everything got more expensive when I played him. But
yeah,
I think I needed it for something else. I don't remember what. Oh, if I'm going to use Aqualad.
Yeah, you can use Aqualad on anything because everything costs 5 or less that you own.
Right.
But that's not going to matter because you already dugged it.
I did. At least I'm consistent. We have to have at least one dugged it every round, or every game. Every round would get super frustrating.
What's funny is that you keep doing it, and every video you comment on it, and you don't seem to learn your lesson.
What lesson is there?
Yeah. I'm just short 1 power from getting the super villain.
I misunderstood what you meant by that.
Yeah, that's for other people who may have been misunderstanding our dugged it comment.
Yes.
I've consistently been 1 short from getting the super villain on all of those references. So that's what we're referring to.
It's a recurring theme of having a good hand that's always just not quite good enough.
Yep.
That's one thing with the crossovers is when you get towards the end, these super villains are getting awfully expensive. Like we're looking at a 14 right now. That's not an easy one to buy. And there's going to be a 15 after that.
One benefit, though, is you're not running into, say, Parallax as your second supervillain.
Yes, the fixed order really does help with that.
So you don't get stalled on this never-ending slog of, can I get there to get this your early villain? It kind of just goes up 8, 9, 10, etc.
Yeah, it's a lot nicer to get the 14 as the 7th supervillain rather than, possibly the way we usually play, flipping up Eclipso as your second supervillain, which would just be rough. Yeah, it's kind of interesting some of the different effects that they put on the time travel cards. Like Dream Girl plays very differently from, Starman plays very differently from Dawnstar. Even though they're all basically just ways to, play extra cards or get extra power through different means.
It's still a different effect.
It's very thematically different, and it doesn't seem like you're just doing the same thing, even though you kind of are.
Well, and you can manipulate the different effects that way, too.
Yeah.
Because like you're doing here, you're dream girling, and then you're bunkering. Well, you can kind of you could see preemptively, potentially, whether it's worth trying to time travel bunker or not.
Sure.
Because if you know that you're going to run into the problem of not being able to draw everything with bunker, maybe not burn the forecast card in your case.
Sure. I mean, there would be definitely other things you could do, like if you dream girled and you came into a electricity, you could then use a Starman to put it back into the lineup and then use it again for drawing additional cards.
Precisely.
They combine in interesting ways, and that's something that the design team should be given credit for.
Not sure what we're waiting for here.
We're waiting for Doug to think, which always takes forever, but not long enough that it makes sense to edit it out. You're the worst, Doug.
I know. At least I'm consistent.
Although to be fair, Connor Kent for double electricity is a smart play. I really don't think there's any way you can argue against that.
I'm stacking my Cloak of the Raven here.
Yeah, this looks like it's probably going to be a good turn.
The question is, am I going to get to 15, or should I just, throw
the
that?
The turn is good enough that it makes sense to discard a kick for time traveling. It's that good.
But I was thinking, to
discard 2 kicks for time traveling while having Cloak of Raven in your hand. You're that confident. You're comfortable playing Dream Girl because you know there's at least a magnetism in there. Which unfortunately will not count for your Cloak of Raven because it goes back to the top of the main deck.
True.
So you got a Starman to put it into the lineup and time travel it again.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens here.
Oh, there's another time travel card for the electricities.
Yeah, that's going to count it up.
Was that a 5?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, drawing 11 cards probably going to be fine.
Well, you're forgetting about the fact that you could have drawn some in the meantime.
At least 11 cards. So, definitely probably the game ender here.
Especially if Eclipso pans out. Or sorry, Universo pans out.
Well, I do have another
Heidi discarded
7 draw cards if we're
one. Ooh,
talking
I defended. There's your 3 power.
Yep.
There's some 8 cards. That'll be good.
Just turn a draw into a weakness for that energy absorption there.
Nope, nothing for you to destroy, apparently.
Nope. Which makes sense, because I was chucking kicks to time travel.
Well, you just drew 8 cards. You could have drawn into 1.
Right. There's more Rodell.
Yeah, boy, if you had one of those electricities left, it'd be a good time. Well, you've already passed what you need for Persuader. It's all gravy now.
All extra power.
It's just a question of whether it's going to be enough to put you in the lead. Oh, and here's another situation where it pays to play with your friends because you forgot that static lets you destroy a card.
Do I have something to destroy? I do.
Yeah, for the listeners and the viewers, it's worth noting that I've already watched this game, at least twice in the process of editing. So I do have a little bit of an idea of what's coming up.
And there's the cloak.
Yep. Well, you gotta play it last.
Yeah, well, it couldn't be last. That's the funny
Gizmo.
part, because you hadn't played any equipment left, so you needed to save Gizmo to be able to draw the card with him.
Yep. Close to last.
Yes.
So only I could buy him twice.
Yeah, you had enough.
And probably a bunch of kicks. Because they're the most efficient VP source left on the table.
Yeah.
Left 2 floating.
You should be ashamed of yourself,
You
Douglas.
double-dugged
That's a terrible turn.
He double dugged it.
No, I really don't. He bought the supervillain, so there's no dugging it involved.
Left 2 power at the table instead of 1.
All right, well, let's see how we stacked up then. It looked like a tight game. Let's see if that bore itself out.
Between 2 of us, anyway. Heidi didn't seem to be doing too much up.
It was definitely nice and close. You can see Heidi was just 4 points behind Doug, and I beat Doug by enough that cheating to get inertia didn't make that big of a difference, and none of his cheats
mattered.
Yeah.
No impact on the final score whatsoever.
So it's always reassuring when you mess up a rule, but it doesn't invalidate a win.
Right.
Yeah, pay attention to all these messages. They are very important. We do care, and I don't know if you knew this, but sometimes our videos can be hard for people to find, even if they know what they're looking for on YouTube. So share them via your social media. You can retweet our Twitter messages or share our Facebook announcements of videos.
And we do have some interaction on Facebook as far as like what you guys want to see on our upcoming videos and things of that nature. And of course, as always, like and subscribe.
The card game, guys. Come play with us.